Jack Miller wiped sweat from his forehead as he flipped burgers on the sizzling grill. The kitchen of the Last Stop Diner was hot and cramped, but it was safer than his old job as a space marine. 4 years since he left that life behind, and he still jumped at loud noises. The diner sat on the edge of Outpost 42, a space station where different alien species stopped to refuel and trade. Humans ran the place, but they served anyone with credits to spend. "Order up," Jack called, sliding a plate of fries and synthetic steak toward Lucy, the waitress on night shift. Lucy grabbed the plate with a quick nod. She was new, only been working at the diner for 3 months. Something about her seemed off to Jack. Her movements were too precise, her eyes too watchful. Not that he cared. Everyone at the edge of space had secrets. The front door hissed open. The temperature in the diner dropped several degrees. Jack peered through the service window and froze. A draconian, 7 feet tall with scaled skin that shimmered between green and black. Its yellow eyes scanned the room as customers went quiet. Draconians rarely came to human establishments. Not since the Battle of Proxima, where thousands of human soldiers died. Jack's hand moved to his hip, where his combat knife used to be. The creature folded itself into a booth in Lucy's section. Its claws clicked against the metal table. "You want me to take that one?" asked Manny, the other waiter. "I got it," Lucy said, grabbing a menu pad. Jack watched as she approached the draconian. Something wasn't right. Lucy didn't seem scared. She seemed alert. The draconian looked up at her, its forked tongue flicking out to taste the air. Lucy leaned down as if taking its order, but then she did something strange. She placed her hand on the table and whispered something that made the creature go completely still. Jack couldn't hear the words, but he could read lips. What he saw made his blood run cold. "You're in a trap, don't move," Lucy had told the dragon. The draconian's muscles tensed, ready to spring, but it stayed seated. Its yellow eyes darted around the room, now seeing what Jack was starting to notice too. The usual drunk at the bar wasn't drinking. The couple by the window hadn't touched their food. The maintenance worker had been fixing the same panel for an hour. Jack's combat instincts kicked in. He reached under the counter for the old blaster he kept hidden, just as tiny red dots appeared on the walls. Motion sensors. Military grade. Lucy was moving back toward the kitchen, her face calm but her eyes signaling danger to Jack. "We need to get out," she whispered when she reached him. "That's not just any draconian. It's Ambassador Krell." "Ambassador?" Jack hissed. "There's no peace talks with. There are now, secret ones. And someone doesn't want them to happen." The man at the bar stood up, his hand moving inside his jacket. The maintenance worker turned, revealing a weapon under his uniform. Jack grabbed Lucy's arm. "Back exit, now." The draconian watched them, understanding dawning in its reptilian eyes. Then everything happened at once. The lights cut out. The emergency red backup lights kicked on. The sound of weapons being drawn filled the diner. In the dim red glow, Jack saw armed figures surrounding the building, their shadows stretching across the windows like reaching fingers. The red emergency lights cast long shadows as Jack pulled Lucy toward the kitchen's back door. A crash came from the front of the diner as armed figures burst in. "The dragon too," Lucy said, turning back. "Are you crazy?" Jack grabbed her arm. "If they kill the ambassador, the war continues. Millions more die." Jack cursed, but followed her back. The draconian was on its feet now, backed against the wall as 3 men in black tactical gear closed in. "Hey!" Jack shouted. He threw a heavy metal pot across the room. It hit one attacker in the head with a loud clang. The distraction was enough. The draconian's tail whipped around, knocking 2 men off their feet. Lucy slid across a table and kicked the 3rd man's weapon away. "Ambassador Krell," Lucy said to the dragon, "with me if you want to live." The draconian's yellow eyes narrowed. "Who are you, human?" "Former intelligence. I recognized the setup when you walked in. Now move. More attackers were pushing through the front door. Jack grabbed a kitchen knife and the blaster he'd hidden. This way, he said, leading them to the back exit. The door opened to a narrow service corridor. Jack took point, weapon ready, moving with the practiced steps of a Marine. Lucy stayed close to the ambassador, who had to duck to fit in the human-sized passage. "Why help me?" Krell asked, voice like gravel. "Because I know what you're here for," Lucy said. "The peace talks." Jack nearly stopped walking. "Peace talks? With the dragons who killed half my unit?" "The war has gone on long enough," Lucy said. "Both sides are tired." Ambassador Krell was sent secretly to meet human diplomats. A blast hit the wall near Jack's head. He fired back without looking and pushed them forward. "Someone wants the war to continue," Lucy explained as they ran. "These aren't military. They're mercenaries." They reached a junction where the corridor split 3 ways. Footsteps echoed from 2 directions. "The maintenance shaft," Jack said, pointing to a small hatch in the floor. "It leads to the docking bay." Lucy pulled it open. "You first, Ambassador. You're the biggest target." The Draconian looked at her with something like respect before squeezing his massive frame into the opening. Jack went next, then helped Lucy down just as bullets pinged off the metal around them. The shaft was tight and dark, forcing them to crawl on hands and knees. "If you're intelligence," Jack whispered to Lucy, "why work as a waitress?" "I was retired, until I got word about the peace talks. Someone had to watch for threats." They reached another hatch. Jack pushed it open carefully and checked the area. They were in the lower docking bay where small ships were kept. "We need transport," Lucy said. Jack pointed to a small cargo shuttle. "That one. I can fly it." They made a dash for the ship. Jack reached it first and started the entry sequence. The door lowered with painful slowness. "They're coming," Lucy warned, looking back at the entrance to the bay where alarms now blared. Ambassador Krell stood beside her, his scaled skin reflecting the flashing red lights. "Why should I trust you humans?" "Because we're all about to die if you don't," Jack said from the ship's ramp. The ambassador nodded once and boarded. Lucy followed as Jack rushed to the controls. His hands moved quickly over the startup sequence, muscle memory from his military days. The engines roared to life just as the bay doors began to close. "Hold on," Jack shouted, pushing the thrusters to maximum. The small ship shot forward, barely clearing the gap. They burst into open space, the station shrinking behind them. Then the ship's warning system blared. Jack looked up through the viewport and felt his heart sink. A massive warship had just appeared directly in their path, its weapon systems powering up and targeting their tiny vessel. "Vex Collective," Ambassador Krell hissed, his scales darkening with fear. The warship looming before them was massive, its hull covered in strange geometric patterns that seemed to shift and move. Jack had seen Vex ships during the war, ancient aliens who kept to themselves, except when they didn't. "Hold on." Jack yanked the controls hard to the left. The small cargo shuttle shuddered as it veered away from the warship's path. A beam of energy cut through space where they had been seconds before. "They're firing on us," Lucy said, gripping her seat as Jack sent the shuttle into a wild spin. "Why would the Vex attack?" Jack asked, his hands dancing across the controls. "They've stayed neutral in our war." Krell moved to the co-pilot's seat, his large clawed hands surprisingly nimble on the human controls. "Perhaps not as neutral as we thought." Another energy beam flashed past them. Jack dove the shuttle behind a cluster of asteroids. "The Vex have been watching our war for decades," Lucy said. "What if they've been doing more than watching?" Jack glanced at her. "What do you mean?" "The attack at the diner wasn't random. Someone knew exactly when Ambassador Krell would arrive for peace talks. The shuttle rocked as debris from a shattered asteroid hit their hull. Jack cursed and pushed the engines harder. "The Vex benefit if humans and Draconians keep fighting," Lucy continued. We're both too busy to notice what they're doing. Krell's yellow eyes narrowed. My intelligence reported unusual Vex activity near both our territories. We assumed they were simply observing. A warning light flashed on the console. Jack hit a series of buttons, trying to boost their failing shields. We need to warn both our people, Lucy said. If the Vex are manipulating us, my fleet won't believe a human, Krell interrupted. And your people won't trust a Draconian. Jack spotted a gap in the asteroid field. We need proof. He pushed the shuttle through the opening, then cut the main engines. They drifted, powered only by momentum. I'm picking up transmissions, Lucy said, working the communication panel. Encrypted, but I recognize Vex patterns. She worked quickly, her fingers flying over the controls. There, I've got something. The screen filled with strange symbols, then translated to human text. Jack and Krell leaned in to read. Attack plans, Jack whispered. For both Earth and the Draconian homeworld. Krell's breath came out in a hiss. They plan to strike while our forces are engaged with each other. We need to contact our governments, Lucy said. Krell reached for the communication controls, but Jack stopped him. Not yet. The Vex might intercept it. We need to get somewhere safe first. A proximity alarm blared. The Vex warship had found them. There, Jack pointed to a small moon orbiting a gas giant nearby. Old mining colony, abandoned years ago. We can hide there, repair the ship. He fired the engines at full power. The shuttle shot forward, racing toward the moon as the Vex warship gave chase. They're gaining, Lucy warned. Jack pushed the shuttle's engines beyond safety limits. The entire ship vibrated, threatening to tear apart. We're not going to make it, Krell said, watching the Vex ship closing in. Yes, we are. Jack gritted his teeth and aimed for the moon's dark side. The shuttle entered the moon's thin atmosphere, heat building around the hull. Jack kept the nose up, fighting for control as they descended rapidly. Brace for impact, he shouted. The shuttle hit the surface hard, skidding across rocky ground before coming to a stop in a cloud of dust. For a moment, all was quiet. Then Lucy looked up from her console. The Vex ship isn't following. I think we lost them. They climbed out of the damaged shuttle, stepping onto the moon's surface. The sky above was filled with stars and the looming gas giant. We should be safe here, Jack said, surveying the damage to their ship. Krell suddenly went still, his head tilted as if listening. Do you hear that? Jack and Lucy froze. In the distance, lights were coming on in what they had thought was an abandoned mining facility. This moon isn't abandoned, Lucy whispered as the lights grew brighter. The ground beneath them hummed with power as massive doors began to open in the facility's side. It's a Vex weapons factory, Jack said, his blood running cold. Jack pulled Lucy and Krell behind a large rock as lights swept across the moon's surface. The Vex facility hummed with energy, its massive doors now fully open. We need to get inside, Lucy whispered. Inside? Jack stared at her. That's a Vex weapons factory. Exactly. The proof we need is in there. She pointed to the facility. Data on their plans to attack both our worlds. Krell's yellow eyes gleamed in the darkness. She's right. Without proof, neither of our people will believe us. Jack checked the charge on his blaster. Fine, but we go in quiet. They moved across the rocky terrain, staying low. The damaged shuttle lay behind them, smoke still rising from its engines. The facility entrance was guarded by 2 Vex sentries, tall, thin beings with metallic skin that reflected the harsh lights. Their heads rotated in slow, mechanical movements. I'll take the left one, Jack whispered. Ambassador, you take the right. Krell nodded. Lucy readied her own weapon. Now, Jack said. They rushed forward. Jack fired at the left guard, hitting it in the center mass. The Vex made no sound as it fell. Krell leapt at the other, his powerful jaws clamping down on its head. Clear, Lucy said, checking the entrance. But there will be more inside. They slipped through the doors into a massive chamber. Weapons of all sizes lined the walls. In the center, a production line created more, piece by piece. "Look at these," Jack said, examining one of the weapons. "They're designed to look like human and draconian tech." Krell picked up another. "So when they attack, we'll blame each other. The control room should be this way." Lucy pointed to a corridor branching off the main chamber. They moved quickly, avoiding patrols of Vex workers. The corridor led to a smaller room, filled with screens and control panels. "Here," Lucy sat at one of the terminals. "I can access their database." Her fingers flew over the alien controls. "I need time." "Hurry," Jack said, watching the door. "We won't stay hidden for long." Krell stood beside him, his massive form tense and ready. "Your people and mine have fought for generations because of Vex manipulation." "Looks that way," Jack said. "Makes you wonder what else they've done." An alarm suddenly blared through the facility. Red lights flashed along the walls. "They've found us," Lucy said, still working at the terminal. "I need more time." "We'll give it to you," Jack said. He turned to Krell, ready to fight alongside a human ambassador. The Draconian's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. "It would be an honor, Marine." The door burst open. Vex soldiers poured in, their weapons raised. Jack and Krell met them head-on. Jack fired his blaster, taking down 2 Vex. Krell used his natural weapons, claws and teeth, ripping through the metallic beings. "Almost there," Lucy called over the noise of battle. More Vex entered. A shot grazed Jack's arm. He felt the burn but kept fighting. "Got it." Lucy held up a small data device. "Everything we need. Go," Jack shouted, pushing her toward a side exit. "Get to the communication relay on the other side of the facility. Send the data to both our worlds." "What about you?" Lucy asked. "We'll hold them off," Jack said, firing at another Vex. Krell nodded in agreement. "The message is more important than our lives." Lucy hesitated, then ran for the exit. Jack and Krell formed a barrier between her and the Vex. "It's been an honor fighting with you, Ambassador," Jack said as more Vex surrounded them. "The honor is mine, Jack Miller." They fought side by side, human and draconian, against a common enemy. Jack felt his strength fading as a Vex blast hit his leg. He fell to one knee, but kept firing. Krell roared, his massive tail sweeping Vex soldiers aside. But even his strength had limits. "Go," Jack told him. "Help Lucy. I'll hold them here." "I will not leave you," Krell said. "One of us needs to make sure that data gets out," Jack insisted. "Now go." Krell looked at him with respect, then turned and ran after Lucy. Jack faced the remaining Vex alone. He thought of all the years wasted fighting the wrong enemy, of the friends he'd lost in a war built on lies. "Come on then," he said to the approaching Vex. "Let's finish this." He fired his blaster until it overheated, then used it as a club. The Vex closed in around him. His last thought before darkness took him was of Lucy and Krell. He hoped they would make it. He hoped they would end the war. Lucy and Krell reached the communication relay station at the far side of the Vex facility. Her hands shook as she plugged the data device into the console. "Jack gave his life for this," she said, voice breaking. Krell stood guard at the door, his scales dark with what might have been grief. "He died with honor." The console lit up as the data transferred. Lucy sent the evidence to both human and draconian command centers, along with a message explaining the Vex deception. "Will they believe us?" Krell asked. "I don't know," Lucy admitted. "Years of hate won't disappear overnight." Alarms blared again. The Vex had tracked them. "We need to go," Krell said. "The shuttle is damaged, but might still fly." They ran back through the facility, avoiding Vex patrols. The moon's surface was cold and dark as they reached their crashed ship. Lucy worked quickly, bypassing damaged systems. "It will fly barely. Enough for one jump." Where to? Krell asked. Lucy looked up at the stars. The peace conference location. Both our fleets are gathering there now, to fight or talk, depending on if they believed our message. The shuttle lifted off shakily. Lucy pushed the engines as hard as they would go, setting course for the neutral space, where human and draconian ships waited. If they didn't believe us, we're flying into a war zone, Krell said. Then we make them believe, Lucy replied. The shuttle limped through space, systems failing one by one. Lucy opened a broadcast channel. This is Lucy Hayes with Ambassador Krell. We sent proof of Vex manipulation. Both our species have been tricked into fighting each other, while the Vex prepared to destroy us both. Static answered her. Then the shuttle sensors beeped a warning. Multiple ships ahead, Krell said. Both human and draconian fleets. They were facing each other across space, weapons hot and ready. They're going to fight anyway, Lucy whispered. All of this for nothing. The shuttle's final engine failed. They drifted forward, powerless between the two mighty fleets. We failed, Krell said. Suddenly, a new ship appeared on their sensors, small and fast, approaching from behind. Vex fighter, Lucy said, fear in her voice. But as the ship came alongside, the comm crackled to life. Need a lift? Lucy gasped. Jack? The one and only. His voice came through, tired but alive. Stole this Vex ship after they thought they killed me. Not bad for a cook, right? The Vex fighter docked with their shuttle. Jack helped them aboard, his face bruised and bloody, but smiling. You're alive, Lucy said, fighting tears. Can't get rid of me that easy, Jack replied. Their moment was interrupted by a massive energy signature. A Vex warship appeared near the human and draconian fleets. They're here, Krell said. The attack begins. Jack took the fighter's controls. Not if we can help it. He flew directly between the two fleets, broadcasting on all channels. Human and draconian forces. The real enemy is here. The Vex have manipulated us for years. They want us to destroy each other. The Vex warship fired its first shot, not at the fleets, but at Jack's small fighter. Evasive maneuvers. Lucy shouted. Jack spun the ship away, but the blast clipped their wing. They spiraled toward a human cruiser. At the last moment, Krell reached over and stabilized the controls with his powerful arms. I've got it, he said. Together, human and draconian hands guided the damaged fighter to safety. The human cruiser, instead of firing on them, extended its shields to protect the small ship. Then something amazing happened. A draconian battleship moved to protect the human cruiser from Vex fire. One by one, ships from both fleets turned their weapons on the true enemy. They believe us, Lucy whispered. The battle was fierce, but short. United, the human and draconian fleets overwhelmed the single Vex warship. 6 months later, the last stop diner reopened on a new space station. This one built jointly by humans and draconians as a symbol of their alliance. Jack cooked. Lucy waited tables. Ambassador Krell visited often. The door hissed open one evening. Lucy looked up to see a strange new alien species enter, one never seen before, in human or draconian space. She picked up a coffee pot, walked over to the newcomer's table, and smiled. Let me guess, you're not from around here either?